Today I'm going to be giving my review of the Ruger LCP. The LCP is a small 380 caliber handgun. It's 380. I mean, there's a huge debate on it. I'm not really going to get too much into debating whether 380 is an acceptable ammo for protection, because I like to think that anytime you carry a gun and pull it on someone who's an attacker, or whenever you're in a situation where you fear for your life, any type of gun is going to be, normally a good thing to have. If you pull a gun on someone and they still continue to attack you or something like that, just imagine what would happen if you didn't have it. So no matter what caliber it is, I'd rather have anything instead of have nothing. So the 380, for those of you who don't know, is basically a 9mm round. I think they're the same diameter, but the 380's casing is a little bit shorter, so it doesn't have as much powder, meaning it doesn't have as much power for the most part. I'm sure there's certain ammo types in each that'll be comparable, but the power you'd get out of a 380 I think is sufficient enough to make it a definite daily carry weapon, or a daily carry ammunition. So that's why I was kind of interested in the LCP. First of all, let me start by clearing the gun, because I know right now it is loaded, and one of the cool things about the LCP is there's this little window right there that kind of lets you see the brass peeking through. So you can see that there's currently a round in the chamber, and this gun has no safeties at all. So if you pull the trigger, there's nothing to stop it from firing. So I'm going to take the magazines, put them off to the side a little bit, and I'm also going to take the round out. Helps if you pull it back faster so that the round doesn't get stuck like that. But now we can see that there's nothing in the chamber. If you want to lock it open, you just push back on the slide, and there's a little button right here, little action that you can push up on, and it'll lock it open. We'll get into that in a little bit, but for the most part, the gun does not actually lock open once the last bullet's fired, just as a heads up. So when you're shooting this at the range or whatever, it does not stay locked when it's empty, so it'll just reset itself and you'll just pull the trigger and hear the little click. So that is interesting to know. Another thing to know about this gun, unlike the 22 caliber pistol, the SR-22 that I just reviewed, this one will fire without the magazine. So you can load around into the chamber, take the magazine out, and this gun will still fire. So that's definitely something important to keep in mind when handling this pistol, is even if you take the magazine out, it can still fire. So that's why you always want to make sure there's nothing in here. Now this is a center fire pistol, so you can technically dry fire this without worrying too much about damage. You don't want to sit there and excessively fire the gun empty. I mean, it can still damage the gun and stuff like that. So if you do want to practice firing it, get snap caps. 380 does have snap caps for it. They're basically solid metal bullets, but on the back they have a little piece of rubber, which I actually have, so let me grab it real quick so I can show you guys. Alright, so I've got the snap caps here, and got some 22 ones in there as well. But you can see it's just a regular looking bullet, but on the back you can see a little clear part in the center is actually rubber. So when you dry fire the pistol, it's interesting because this will allow you to dry fire without damaging the gun. So that's why I like these. It's also good to practice with these, loading it up, unloading it, racking ammunition into the slide. So it definitely helps with that. Because one of the only things that takes a little bit to get used to on this gun is it is kind of hard at first to get used to trying to rack rounds into it, just because if you've got any oil or your hands are sweaty or anything like that, it does take a lot of force to pull back on that. So if you just try pinching it, a lot of times you can slip. It's harder, a little bit harder to pull back, just because it's a small gun, there's not much to grab onto. So usually what I'll do is I'll kind of bend my finger sideways and press it up against the side of the gun here, and then take my thumb and pinch it, and that usually gives me enough grip to pull back on it. Or I'll take my tips of my fingers, put it here, and then take the inside of my thumb and press it against that part of the barrel and grab the whole thing and pull it back and then let it go. You never want to walk it forward because you can pinch your fingers and your hand inside the in between the barrel and the slide. So usually if I do that, I just pull back and let it go. It seems to work pretty well. But it does take a little bit of getting used to just because it is so small. And I guess speaking of size, it is a little small. As you can see, I can only get one finger on here, and the second one kind of, falls off if I tried gripping. And as you'll notice, just like the SR22, this also comes with the little bases that you can either have them straight across, or like this one here, it'll curve out a bit so that I can really get that second finger on the gun. So it gives me a little bit more grip. Now I do have relatively large hands, and it still fits. It's still comfortable to shoot at the range, so it does fit my hand pretty well. So I like it. Some people prefer it without the little extra extension on the magazines, but I kind of prefer it with it, so I'll usually keep that on there. Anytime I have the magazines in there, I always like to check to see if there's a round in the chamber or not. So that's as far as the outside goes. The magazine release is right here. It's a little button. It's only on one side, unlike the SR22, which had it on both. I think you can flip it around. I'm not sure. Actually, no, it doesn't look like you can, 'cause this side's bigger than there. I don't know. It might be, maybe there's some conversion, but I'm not sure. This is the model without the laser. I think there is a model that comes with a laser that you can get built onto the gun, but I think it is like an extra $100 or something. So I figured, you know what, this thing's not very accurate at long ranges, so when it's close-up targets, you can aim pretty well. So it's not really necessary to have a laser on there. If you want, and you have the extra money and you don't mind, then you can definitely, feel free to get it. But I just got it without it because, if you're going to conceal carry this weapon, you want to be able to pull it out. Your attacker's usually going to be relatively close anyways. So there's really no need for me to have it, but like I said, that's just my personal preference. One other thing that I'd like to note on the outside of the gun is, as you can see on the top, you can see those little orange dots. So I got one on the barrel and two on the back of it. So the reason I did that, it does not come like that. It's just normally black, but I put that on there myself so that when you're at a range, a lot of times indoor ranges are a little bit darker and stuff, and these black sights on like a black target or a darker target is a little bit harder to see. So I put those on there to give it a little distinction from the rest of the gun, since it is all black. So I put that on there, and it helps out a lot. And then also on the outside, this little pin right here is how you tear it down for a quick cleaning. I'll do another video of how to tear this down and field strip it just to give it a quick cleaning and stuff. It's relatively simple, so I'll show you that in a future video. But as far as the external stuff goes, that's pretty much it. Like I said, there are no safeties at all on this gun. The only real safety is the one between your ears, meaning use your brain. Whenever you pull this out, it is ready to go. Whether it has magazine in it or not, it can fire, and there are no safeties to mess with. And it's kind of done that way on purpose, because this is meant to be a concealed carry gun. If you're getting attacked, you might not have time to try to flick off the safety, or you might not remember to flick it off, or when you've got all that adrenaline pumping through your body, you might not be able to have the little finite controls to, flick the little button. Your hand might be shaking, you can't really get a good grip on it. So having a gun that you can just pull out and use right away is definitely a major plus for any concealed weapon, in my opinion. So that's one thing to keep in mind. It does, however, have a very long trigger pull, and it does take a lot of force to get that to pull. So it's not like it can accidentally shoot in your pocket or anything like that. It also won't fire when dropped. I know some of the first models of this had an issue where they could possibly fire when they were dropped, but those were all recalled, fixed for free by Ruger. I think they even gave you an extra magazine for allowing them to fix it, just as their way of saying, sorry about that. But that's long since been fixed. So really, this is a nice gun to carry, and there's no reason you shouldn't keep one in the chamber. If I was going to carry this, I would definitely keep one in the chamber because, like I said again, just like with the safeties, if you had to use this in a split second, if someone's charging at you, attacking you with a knife or a gun or, you know, stuff like that, you might not have time to pull it out, cock it, and then shoot it. So that's very important to remember. You also might not be able to. Maybe your other arm is broken or shot or stabbed or cut. You know, you never know. You might only have one arm, so you don't have the luxury of having the second arm to rack the gun. So that's why it's always important to keep one chambered, because if not, like I said, you could probably, if you spent enough time getting used to this gun, you might possibly be able to find a way to cock it or rack one to the chamber with one hand, but you know, overall it's relatively tough to do that. I wouldn't think it would be possible, especially in a stressful situation. So that's always one thing to keep in mind with this. Now, another thing that appealed to me about this gun was that it is small. I mean, you can see that it basically is smaller than my hand. If I put it on the table, I can pretty much completely cover it up and you'd have no idea it's there. It also fits nicely inside of my pocket. I've got this little pocket holster here that kind of masks the shape of the gun. So it's definitely small. It's lightweight, so it's not going to pull your pants down or feel like you're carrying a brick around or anything like that. So that's always kind of important when considering something that you might carry to protect your life on a daily basis. As far as the magazines go, they hold 6 rounds, and I think there is a factory 7-round magazine that you can get, but I think it would, I don't know, actually, I don't think it adds extra length to the magazine. If it does, I think it's pretty minimal. I don't own any. I just have the standard 6-round. It only comes with 1 magazine from the factory, so I did go to the store, and I did pick up a second magazine for it. But, like I said, that was just my personal preference. I'll get into ammo here in a second, but there is one thing I want to show you guys, and I don't know if the gun is supposed to do this or not. As you can see, I'm just loading a dummy round into the top part there, and I want to show you something interesting that I found by accident one day, and you know, it kind of gave me the wrong impression of the gun and almost could have possibly cost me my life. So what I was doing is I left the slide open, and I was messing around with the dummy rounds one day, just loading it up, practicing with it, and I noticed one time when I slammed the magazine into here, not even like slam it, just kind of pushed it in harder. Actually, that wasn't hard enough, but you can see that the slide released itself, and if we look at the little hole there, we can see that there's that red round in the chamber. So, you know, the dummy round loaded itself, and I was like, that's freaking sweet. You know, I saw that, and I was like, you know, that'd be cool. I could take it to the range, fire, lock it open, slam the next magazine in, and, you know, it's going to load itself. And with these dummy rounds, I did it every time, and right there, this is exactly what happened at the range. So when I was practicing with this at home, I was slamming the magazines in there. It locked it. It loaded the bullet into the chamber every time, and it worked like a charm. So I went to the range one time, and I was doing that. I did it like twice, and it was perfect. Then the third time, I racked it in there, and it did exactly what it did right now. If I'm hitting the magazine release, the magazine is not coming out of there because the round it failed to feed into the gun. So you can see if I pull back on the magazine or on the rail there, it didn't really do anything. So I had to play with it a bit to get it in there. And I think what happens is it hits with so much force that it kind of digs into a part of the gun and gets stuck on the feeding ramp. So that happened to me at the range, and I kind of realized, you know, at first I was thinking this would be a cool way to quickly reload if I'm in a situation where I need to add another magazine to the gun. And if I would have done that in a life or death scenario, I could have jammed the gun like that, and the first time it happened, I had no idea what was going on. It took me like a minute to get everything in there because you can't pull the magazine out. You know, the gun's kind of stuck there, and you know, it just kind of turned into a real pain. So I'm lucky I found that out beforehand. Like I said, I don't think the gun is supposed to do that. I think it was just a fluke that it happens that way. But it is interesting to know if you do want to do that. I would not, because you can see right there, the first time it worked, second time it got stuck. And I'm sure over time will probably damage the gun. So something to keep in mind, never do that. I just thought it was cool, and then I realized that it was definitely a bad idea to do. So that's that. Other than that, I have not had a single problem with this pistol. It's fired all the different types of ammunition I put through it. I've never had any failures to feed, failures to eject, or anything like that. So it's extremely reliable. This is definitely something I would trust my life with if, you know, I had to carry something like this. I could definitely see myself carrying this on a daily basis, and you know, definitely relying on something like this to protect my life. So I guess that being said, I could go over a couple of the different types of ammo that I've used in the past. And one of the first types I used when I actually bought the gun, I bought it at a trade show, and no one there had any types of ammunition at all. And it was kind of weird because it's such a popular caliber for concealed carry that it's hard to find ammo for it. It's not as hard as .22, but it is kind of hard to find decent ammo for it. So a lot of the stuff I buy online just because it's easier to find. But the first ammo I ever bought was this PMC Bronze, and it came with 50 rounds, and it worked perfectly. It's a nice target ammo. I mean, technically you could use it for self-protection, but it is not a hollow point. It's just a full metal jacket on there. So that works great. The local gun range I go to also carries this Federal Target Range practice ammunition, and it's also just a round bullet. There's no hollow point or anything on that, but it comes in a 50 pack. And those are just fun to go to the range with. Like I said, you could put it in the gun, but I wouldn't trust it as much as some of the actual self-defense rounds, which I'm going to get into here. One of the first self-defense rounds I started putting in the gun was this Hornady Critical Defense ammunition. And this is a hollow point ammunition, and it's actually what I keep in the gun. I keep it staggered between the two. Basically, I keep two different types in there. The other one is the Corbon DPX, and you can see the two here. The copper-cased one is the Corbon DPX, and the silver-cased one is the Hornady Critical Defense. They're both hollow points. You can see that this Hornady has like this little gel in the center that'll probably help it expand and mushroom out and stuff. And the difference between these two is that the Hornady Critical Defense is a jacketed lead hollow point. So it's basically a lead bullet with copper coating on the outside and this little gel in the center that'll help it expand. And the other one, which is the Corbon DPX, is a full copper round. So it's actually lighter than this round, but it will go faster, and it will hold itself together when being shot at the target. So this will actually penetrate. This is a deep penetrating round, and this is more of a mushrooming round. I mean, they'll both penetrate and do damage, but the DPX will actually penetrate further. I think you can shoot this through like car glass, car doors, and it'll still have enough force to go through and do some damage to whoever's behind it, whereas the Critical Defense may not. So I keep them staggered in the gun, just because you never know if you had to use it, what kind of scenario you'd be in. So I like to keep them both in there. They're both excellent rounds. Trying to compare the two would be like comparing apples and oranges. They're not really the same types of rounds at all, so I won't really get into that. But that's the type of ammo I use. Like I said, never really had a problem with any different types of ammo. Ruger recommends that you don't shoot reloads through the gun, just because it can damage the gun, depending on the quality of the reloads. You know, I think I've shot a few reloads through here, and I didn't have any problems. I just wanted to test it out and see what would happen. But for the most part, I didn't have any issues. Even with reloads, everything fed through there fine. One thing you don't want to put in here is plus P ammo. Basically, it can destroy the gun. It can ruin it because it has more power, so it'll, you know, wear away the gun faster. It could blow up in your face, basically. So plus P ammo is not something you want to put in here. You know, I don't know exactly why, but it's recommended by them. I've even done research online where people say that it could ruin the gun. So something to definitely keep in mind. And that's pretty much all I really have to say about the LCP. It's not super accurate at the range, at far distances. If you're, you know, 5 to 15, maybe 20 feet away, you can keep it in a nice group. But any further than that, you know, the group starts spreading out a lot more. It's not very accurate. It's meant to be a gun that you pull out and use at close ranges if you're getting attacked or something like that. So it's definitely a self-defense gun. It's not something that you can really use for precise target practicing and long-distance shooting, because that's not what it's designed for, because it has such a short barrel in it and stuff. So overall, I love this gun. It doesn't have a ton of kick to it. It does have more kick, I'd say, than a 9mm, because usually 9mm are a little bit bigger and the slide can absorb more of the recoil from the shots, whereas this, it's such a small gun that you feel a lot more of it in your hand. So just a little bit harder to control, and like I said, it's comparable to a 9, maybe even a little more kick just because it is so small. But like I said, I have no issues with the gun. I love this gun. I would rely on it for self-protection. And it's just an overall good gun. It's relatively cheap. I think I paid $350 for this almost a year ago. I'm sure it might be a little bit cheaper. I think I just saw one in a local gun shop used for like $200. So even at that, it's still a reliable gun. It comes with the Ruger lifetime warranty on some of the parts and stuff. So excellent gun. Just pick up an extra magazine or two for it, and some high quality self-defense ammo if you are going to carry this on a daily basis. And other than that, I just want to mention that it is not really a range gun. This isn't something you want to go to the range and put a few thousand rounds through. It won't kill it, but it's not designed for a lot of repetitive shooting. It's meant for self-defense. So, I mean, you definitely still want to take it to the range and shoot it, but you don't want to go there and shoot a few thousand rounds through in a day, because that could probably ruin it. So just keep that in mind. And I would recommend this gun to anyone who wants to get a small concealed carry gun, because this easily fits your pocket, purses, backpacks. It can fit into your waistline if you have a waistband holster for it. So there's a ton of places you can put this thing that would conceal it perfectly. And like I said, a .380 caliber, it's a short 9, so it does have a lot of stopping power to it, especially if you get into some of the quality ammo for it as well. So I would recommend this gun to anyone. I have bigger hands and I have no issues holding onto this thing. I've had other people shoot it and they've had no problems with it as well. So it's just a quality gun. It's, you know, reliable, and you know, I like it. So let me know what you guys think if you have one, if you're thinking about getting one. Let me know if there's any questions you have that I haven't answered or touched on. Like I said, I'll do a teardown video here soon, just a basic cleaning video, and show you guys how that works. And we'll go from there. But thanks for watching. If you guys like this video, please subscribe, like the video, comment on it. I'd love to know what you guys think of my videos, what you'd like to see in the future, and stuff like that. So, you know, comments, subscribers, stuff like that, it definitely helps me continue to do these types of videos and stuff. So, you know, I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this, and I will see you guys soon with another video.